The process commences subtly. Initially, it goes unnoticed. Picture yourself at the tender age of 7, gazing into the eyes of a parent who is disintegrating. Perhaps the source is substance dependence, or maybe it's seething resentment, or simply the deep, hollow stillness of an individual too shattered to be present. Without any verbal communication, an ancient mechanism activates in your young mind. If I don't stabilize this situation, no one else will. This is the moment a child vanishes, not physically, but within their own psyche. They begin to smile more, weep less, and master the art of assessing the atmosphere before uttering a single syllable. They transform into the emotional regulator of the household, essentially becoming small adults long before their mental capacity is prepared for the burden. The world, tragically, applauds this transition. You are so mature, they proclaim. You are so conscientious. You are so resilient. Yet no one ever pauses to inquire, at what personal toll? This is the unseen sorrow of individuals who were compelled to mature prematurely. Today, we delve deeply into the psychological framework of that child, because the consequences do not simply dissipate with the passage of time. They fundamentally shape you. They accompany you into your interpersonal connections, your professional endeavors, and your fundamental sense of self-worth. Unless you comprehend what transpired, you will inadvertently spend your adult life replicating the survival mechanisms that, while once life-saving, are now gradually undermining your well-being. Let us begin by examining the developmental reality of the situation. When young people are compelled to offer emotional assistance to adults instead of receiving it, therapists label this parentification. It is the moment a child undertakes the role of caregiver, peacemaker, counselor, or guardian. This dynamic is not merely detrimental, it reconfigures the brain's wiring. When a child is consistently burdened with managing emotional control, whether their own or that of others, it cultivates a state known as hypervigilance. You are perpetually scanning for potential threats. You operate with extreme caution, learning that affection is a transaction. You furnish tranquility, and perhaps they will offer security in return. You internalize the notion that your own necessities are perilous while theirs are pressing. Consequently, you recede, not physically, but emotionally. In your stead, a performing version of you emerges, the compliant child, the unobtrusive achiever, the supportive friend, the one who never makes demands. And you inhabit this persona so convincingly that even you lose sight of the fact that it is a facade. But deep within, a wound persists, a painful yearning remains, because the inner child you suppressed did not perish. They continue to shriek silently, pleading, "Why did no one safeguard me?" As you advance in years, the manifestations of this experience grow more intricate. You might develop a state of extreme self-reliance, rejecting assistance, distancing others, or feeling perpetually insecure in a loving relationship. You may feel a sense of detachment during joyful occasions because happiness seems strange, unmerited, even hazardous. You may find it difficult to rest because output is the sole basis upon which you have ever felt deserving. Most profoundly, you may not even grasp that you are still trapped in a state of survival, because when dysfunction becomes normalized early on, your nervous system accepts disorder as the default setting. Calmness feels incorrect, serenity feels suspect, and love feels like a debt that will eventually demand repayment. This is the psychopathology of a child forced to mature too swiftly. It extends beyond mere sadness. It constitutes a complex trauma that recasts your perception of the world and, critically, of yourself.
One might logically pose the query, why would a child voluntarily assume such a role? The answer lies in the fact that children will sacrifice anything for attachment, even their own authenticity. This choice is never a conscious decision, it is biological. In the absence of reliability, the child forfeits genuineness in exchange for a sense of belonging. This is not an indicator of frailty. It is a display of innate intelligence, an instinct. But the ironic tragedy is this: what once preserved you now confines you. So many of us navigate life as highly functional adults with profoundly neglected inner children unconsciously dictating our actions. We overachieve to secure affirmation. We maintain silence to avert abandonment. We tend to everyone else, yet secretly harbor the wish that someone would simply ask if we are all right. That fanciful notion that someone will perceive you are not as sturdy as you pretend to be, that perhaps, just perhaps, you will finally be permitted to break down and be comforted, is the unfulfilled longing, belonging not to your adult self, but to the child who never had the chance to truly be a child. The initial phase of restoration is not about remediation, it is about acknowledgement. Because until you affirm the validity of what transpired, you will continue to mislead yourself with thoughts such as, "It was not that bad," or "Others endured worse things," or "I turned out fine." But fine is also a disguise, and deep inside you recognize it. So what becomes of that child as they grow older? They transform into adults who never feel secure, even in peaceful environments. They become partners incapable of trusting tenderness. They become givers who cannot accept. They become the individuals who offer apologies for weeping, recoil from compliments, and mistake exhaustion for successfulness. This is the ultimate cost of accelerated maturity. If your early life conditioned you to be powerful at the expense of being vulnerable, to be silent instead of candid, to mend others while disregarding your own fissures, what kind of adulthood do you inherit? You receive a life where you are perpetually apprehensive, anticipating someone to grant you permission to eventually collapse. Now, let's explore how this survival strategy manifests in adulthood, covertly, regrettably, and often unseen. You might become the counselor in all your friendships, yet never allow anyone to genuinely see your own struggles. You might be commended for your autonomy, when deep down you are terrified of becoming a liability. You might engage in relationships where you overfunction, perpetually fixing, managing, over-explaining, and then feeling bewildered by your own resentment. You might struggle with establishing limits because saying no still feels like an act of betrayal. These are not intrinsic personality attributes. They are learned mechanisms for coping, conditioned responses that fortunately can be unlearned. But this is only possible when you cease to venerate your strength and begin to acknowledge your scars. One of the most potent actions you can undertake is to ask your inner child, "What did I require back then that I never obtained?" You may receive responses such as, "I needed someone to tell me it was not my fault. I needed someone to ask how I was truly faring. I needed the opportunity to play, to rest, and to laugh without apprehension." And slowly, deliberately, you begin to furnish those very things for yourself, not to rectify your past, but to cease reliving it. This is how you stop seeking parental figures in your romantic partners. This is how you stop confusing anxiety for insight. This is how you stop running away from the child you were and the person you were evolving into. Carl Jung once remarked, "There is no access to awareness without experiencing suffering." People will undertake anything, no matter how irrational, to evade confronting their own soul. But self-reflection demands that we face it all, the abandoned, the mortified, the frightened, the furious. Because healing is not about transforming into someone new, it is about recalling who you were before the world prescribed who you ought to be. So, if you are an individual who was compelled to grow up too soon, understand this: your early maturity was never the inherent problem. The problem was that you had no genuine alternative. But now you do. You are free to select vulnerability. You are free to select rest. You are free to discontinue managing the emotions of everyone else and start honoring your own. And no, this transformation will not be instantaneous. There will be moments when you feel like a child again. That's a positive sign. That is the objective. Allow that child to return home. Permit them to cry. Permit them to engage in play. Permit them to finally be acknowledged, because you are not defective. You are in the process of becoming complete. And perhaps for the very first time, you are finally maturing in the correct manner, not through coercion, not through fear, but through honesty. You were deprived of a childhood, but you still possess a future, and this time, you have the authority to compose it.